Hello, thanks for joining us on your channel of choice at this time, Africa Independent Television Reality. Welcome to Focus Nigeria, midweek edition of the program. My name is Benga Aruleba. Senate Majority Leader, Senator Ahmed Lawan, will join me shortly for today's session as we review last week's developments in the Senate. But let's quickly update you on some developments shaping the polity at the moment. Nigeria's march to self-sufficiency in local rice production got a boost on Tuesday with the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, SAN, commissioning a rice mill in Kebbi State to facilitate sustainable rice production in Nigeria. The rice mill, described as the largest in Africa, is capable of processing over 120,000 metric tons of paddy rice annually. Professor Osinbajo at the event said the project underscores the policy of the government to give the private sector the driver's seat in reviving the economy. The acting president said, with the commissioning of the rice mill in Kebbi, Nigeria's days of rice importation are almost over. 7 months after he took the reins of power, the Ondo State Governor, Arakunrin Rotimi Akeredolu SAN, has forwarded a list of 18 commissioner nominees to the State House of Assembly for confirmation. On the list are 2 journalists, Donald Ojogo and Yemi Olowolabi. Yemi was Chief Press Secretary to late Governor Segun Agagu. Also on the list is a former governor's younger brother, Professor Femi Agagu, who was the immediate past Vice Chancellor of the Adekunle Ajasin University in Akungba, Akoko. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar was special guest on Tuesday at a summit organized by the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. Atiku, who took pot shots at the existing political parties, including his own, the APC, lamented the absence of internal democracy in the existing political parties in Nigeria.
Put simply, you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot build democracy on a substructure of dictatorship and intolerance. A political party that constricts the freedom of its members cannot really offer freedom to the citizens of the nation. Can it? No. The absence of it, that is internal democracy in the parties, is a major reason why our democracy remains fragile and why the quality of leadership that we produce has not matched our expectations and the challenges facing us as a nation. It is also one of the reasons why it has been very difficult to hold leaders account. Internal party democracy is important enough that it was one of the areas addressed by the Electoral Reform Committee headed by Justice Ahmed Lawan many years ago. But we know that power wielders hardly voluntarily enlarge the democratic space because they don't want to leave power. That is why I have often opined that internal party democracy will only come with genuine electoral reforms in the country. Such reforms, broadly along the Justice West Committee recommendations, which will further strengthen the independence of INEC and ensure that votes count.
With the way the former vice president has been criticizing his party, the APC, somebody says Atiku is set to move again as the calculations for 2019 get into the mix. Lastly, some spate of appointments announced yesterday. The government has reconstituted the board of one of its anti-corruption agencies, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. A government statement late last night said the acting president has named Professor Bolaji Owasoye as the new chairman of the ICPC. The other members are Dr. Grace Chinda, Okolo Titus, Barrister Obiora, Gwedibia, Mrs. Olubukola Balogun, retired Group Captain Sam Ewang, Justice Adamu Bello, Hannatu Muhammad, Abdullahi Meikano, Dr. Saad Alamu, Yahya Umar Dauda, and Melataka Memuna Aliyu, while Professor Musa Usman Abubakar will serve as secretary. The appointment of the chairman is for 5 years, while that of the board members will be for 4 years. The appointments are subject to Senate confirmation. The SY chairman of the ICPC, Mr. Ekpo Nta, has also been named as a full-time commissioner in the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, where some full-time and part-time members were also named. The Investment and Security Tribunal has also been reconstituted with Siaka Isaiah Idoko as the new chairman with 9 members, including a former newspaper editor, Nosa Osawenge, named as well. It's the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, which also has Engineer Chidi Izuwa as the new Director General. The Special Advisor to the President on Prosecution, Chief Okoye Obono Obla, has also been named as the chairman of a special presidential investigation panel for the recovery of public property. The recovery panel, according to the government, was set up by the acting president pursuant to the provisions of the Recovery of Public Property Special Provisions Act, Cap R4, Laws of the Federation, 2004. Right, these are the issues trending at the moment. After this break, Senate leader, Distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan, will be joining me for today's session.
They see chaos and conflicts. We see community action for good governance. They see poverty and want. We see perseverance and the will to go on. They see economic law. We see the ingenuity and creative spirit of our people. We are AIT News, fresh, authentic views of Africa. How would you rather see the world? AIT News, all sides, all the time.
If you're just joining us, a very warm welcome to you. Distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan is joining me for today's conversation about Nigeria. Distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan is the Senate Majority Leader, the one we call leader. Good to see you, leader.
Thank you very much, Benga.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good
All
morning,
right.
viewers.
The Senate is on break for how long?
For 6-7 weeks.
Okay, so that means we should expect the members back by September or so.
Yeah, mid-September. 19th to be precise.
September 19th?
Yes.
Okay, let me just note that. September 19th, okay. But the Senate has been in the news of late. The leaders of the Senate particularly have been in the media trying to defend what went down last week in the National Assembly. Really, some of the decisions taken last week as the Senate and the House tried to approve the proposals for amendment of the Constitution, some of these decisions were very shocking. And since last week, Nigerians have been asking, who are our lawmakers listening to? Whose voices are they hearing? Will it be the voices of the people out there that are speaking so loudly on some of these issues that you have voted on? Or you are listening to some other voices?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. And as lawmakers, as representatives of the people, we are supposed to listen to voices of the people. Voices of those who are vociferous, who have access to media, who are opportuned to be part of the engagements in the polity. But also listen to the deafening silent voices that are never expressed because they have no access to media or they have no such opportunities and privileges as those who are opportune to be talking. So we listen to all the voices. And I want to tell you that we took into account the desires of everybody, whether you spoke in support of something because you had access to media, or you had access or easy access to discussion groups, or belong to NGOs and so on, and those that had no opportunities at all, but yet they are a majority and we represent them. So we took into account every voice. And what came out of the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, is the concomitant disposition of senators from the voices they have listened to. And to me, there was nothing shocking, because no one senator voted ignorantly. Everyone, and we voted as individuals, not as groups, every single senator had his own seat. And he had the opportunity, or she had the opportunity, to vote yes or no, or even abstain. Largely influenced or even determined by what his people, the people he represents or she represents, want.
There were no peer pressure?
Excuse me. Whether these people are able to come to the media and talk or clamor for any position or not. But of course, you have to listen, even to the deafening silence of those that you represent. In fact, quite often, I think we need to listen to those who don't talk, because they have no opportunity, because they are the most disadvantaged people in the society. And laws, any policy of government or program should be targeted largely on those that are so disadvantaged. But of course, not neglecting those that are advantaged, but we must ensure that those down the ladder, the social ladder or economic ladder, are brought up to make the society stable and safe. So if you neglect those who are silent, and they happen to be in the majority, because few people have access to media houses, few people have the opportunities to be in NGOs and CBOs and all these pressure groups. So what happens to those who are not able to talk? Shouldn't we listen to that silence, because it's a message?
Those are the people that the media are represented, really.
They hardly, the media hardly gets to them.
A lot of people have said that in the midst of the nationwide agitation for restructuring and all of that, that it presented the National Assembly with the best peaceful opportunity of attending to some of these clamors. But that what the Senate did last week was more or less preserving the status quo rather than address those fault lines and speak to them through a constitutional provision that we have now. Otherwise, what we are left with may be extra constitutional.
You know, as Senate as an institution or legislature thinks a lot, consults a lot, listens a lot as well. So someone may clamor for something, but it is my conviction that clamoring is not enough. Threatening is not enough. What may bring the outcome that we desire and need is supposed to be dialoguing, engagements, enlightenment, education. Because you could be on the television and be talking, threatening, and clamoring for a position. But another person may be clamoring for something else. But as legislators, we are supposed not to concentrate only on those who are clamoring. We are supposed to listen. But we are supposed to synthesize the different tones that come out, including those deafening silent tones that you don't hear, but you know they are there and they matter so much. So, as individual senators, we had different reasons to vote the way we voted, even on the devolution that we are talking about. Some maybe felt that at the moment, the political temperature is too high and torrid, that we should tarry a while with some of these issues. Nothing stops us, or indeed citizens, coming back later, when perhaps the environment would be a little bit better and clearer and more stable.
Where would that be?
I just hold on.
Particularly
Just
when
hold on. I'm
2019 is also around the
telling you how constitutional amendment is a continuous process. The day we finished, the moment after we closed the chamber, someone could put in a constitutional amendment bill asking for an amendment, maybe even for something that failed to fly.
Aren't we invariably turning constitutional amendment to a business that we must always resort to? Must every National Assembly come and have a constitutional amendment process on its template?
So if Nigerians request, will you say you are not going to do because the previous assembly did?
Yeah, every time Nigerians request, something happens to it. That's the problem since 1999.
Benga, we had about 33 bills, and we passed almost 29 or so. Only 4 or 5 were negative. So give us some kind of...
I should cut you some slack.
No,
except that
give us some credit that we have done something.
That's what I'm saying.
The fact that someone did not get what he wanted, it doesn't mean that we didn't do anything. But it also does not foreclose the opportunity for people who didn't get what they want to come back to the National Assembly, or even within the Assembly for senators and members of the House to initiate something. But you see, I didn't finish my this thing when you you stopped me. So
who am I to stop the leader? Please continue.
The leader is not in the leader in the IT. Anyway, you see, some of us voted based on, maybe for now the status quo should be maintained, and let's wait, let's tarry a while. Some maybe thought the kind of statements coming from different interest groups and pressure groups would not give the kind of, if we passed, for example, if some people voted in favor and maybe we feel, should we be yielding to this kind of pressure? Or should we be working under very conducive, calm atmosphere so that we are able to reflect better and act better and maybe wisely? So thirdly, those who wanted to pass any bill of the 33 had the Herculean task of enlightening people, reaching out to people, to talk to them, to explain the essence of the bill they're interested in, to explain why it should be passed, to allay the fears of anyone they encounter who expresses some fears, you know, and concerns. So it's like maybe there was not enough campaign on some of the issues. If I had a position, because my people wanted me to take that position, you don't expect me to jettison that position and jump at yours until you come up with something more superior.
Wouldn't it be curious if we are advancing this kind of argument? Are we then saying that senators are not in Nigeria and are not listening to all of these agitations for the particular one that you have put on the table now, issue of devolution, for instance? What is in devolution of power that the Senate or the senators cannot understand as
I cannot speak for every senator here, because everybody voted
according to his
conscience.
What shouldn't a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria understand?
Let me finish. Every senator voted based on his conscience, but of course on the interest his people stood for. So it's not like because we are senators and those who have access to the press are agitating for something, then we shouldn't consult our constituencies. No one senator voted simply because he or she had a position. Because at the end of the day, we are supposed to be accountable to our people. Therefore, I think there was a gap maybe. Devolution of powers, which is changing the administrative structure of decentralizing the federal government largely, taking out some of the functions of the federal government in the exclusive list to the concurrent for the states to also participate. Ordinarily, that is as it is simple. Yeah. But perhaps when some people make it look monstrous or very difficult or even not clearly defined, then it becomes like, hey, let me keep what is there at the moment because I am afraid the way this man is talking, or it's not too clear to me. And then maybe I vote for it another time. So it's for those people to come out later, campaign to the National Assembly members. If they identify people that have voted against devolution, for example, then you go to them and try to convince them, let them see devolution through your eyes. But when you are coming, make sure you also understand what it is. So that when you come, you don't confuse me more. Because if you confuse someone more, the tendency is he will stick to his position.
Probably
thinking it is safer. Because this is not harming him as much as he thinks he will be harmed by what you are saying.
But who do you blame for that? Shouldn't we blame the senators themselves for that? First of all, the Senate drafted that bill. That's bill number 3, for instance. The Senate drafted the bill. The Senate decided on which items to take from the exclusive list and put in the concurrent list.
No.
And so the Senate ought to understand.
No.
And not only that, this is 2 years down the line.
No, Benga.
The Senate had
not the Senate.
The Senate had the advantage of asking for education, consultants, and all of that
it was
to
not
understand
the Senate.
all of these
Benga,
issues.
just listen now.
So who drafted the bill?
The bill was drafted by the Senate Committee on Constitutional.
Exactly, composed of senators.
That is not Senate.
Composed of how many senators?
That is not Senate. When you say Senate,
wait
it is
now,
109.
Wait now, leader.
Just listen.
Let me tell you.
Okay,
let me tell you.
Tell me.
Yes. We are talking of a committee made up of 51 senators.
Okay, listen to me.
51.
Then. Okay, listen to me.
And every state
just
is
listen.
represented.
Just listen. 51.
Yes.
Just listen.
With every state represented.
Just listen. I want to tell you that not all the 51 voted for all the items to be there. It was simple majority when we could not reach consensus. Do you understand? So it's not like 51 senators approved of something and it came to the Senate and failed. No. Senators voted in some cases. In fact, when we had our retreat, we voted alongside with House because the retreat was a joint retreat with the House of Representatives and even the members of the State Houses of Assembly, the speakers, the majority leaders, and women from all the 36 State Houses of Assembly. In some cases, they also voted because they were on the retreat to know exactly why every item of the amendment is there and what the arguments are. So that when we eventually send them from the National Assembly after we vote, they should not be in a difficulty trying to explain. You know?
Why didn't the Senate, for instance, therefore, ask for the issues to be broken down? For instance, why would any senator in the Federal Republic of Nigeria be opposed to the issue of public? I'm just looking at the items one by one. Public holiday. Why should any senator, for whatever reasons, be opposed to saying, okay, remove this issue from the exclusive? Let states also decide whether they want to have a public holiday as many times in a year as possible.
As they do now.
As they do now. Why should any senator be opposed to the issue of railways being on the concurrent list? If Ondo, Osun, Lagos want to have a railway linking them together up to Ogun, why should any senator say no to that? Why should any senator, for instance, say no to the issue of trade and commerce to be put in concurrent list for states to be able to make policies?
I'm sure you're not expecting me to answer the questions the way you're putting them.
Those are the items that were voted
but
down.
I'm not going to answer why public holiday, why this. Let me answer what you have said so far. You see, the Senate, in fact, the National Assembly in the 8th Senate was very ingenious by breaking down the constitutional amendment into separate individual bills. From our experience, of the third term, the 2006.
2007.
Yes,
2006.
Yeah, when the entire amendment
process
was thrown out because of one.
Yeah.
And of course, I think the bill on devolution might have suffered from the lumping of many things.
Okay.
Maybe maybe I think it was possibly an oversight, and I'm sorry, I'm a member of the Constitutional Review Committee. Maybe that escaped our scrutiny. Probably we should have broke it into individual bills. We are talking about railways. Federal government can do that when they are across states, and states can do that within their states,
traffic,
and so on. Maybe if we had done that, the baby and the bathwater wouldn't have been thrown out. You know, maybe I'm just guessing. So that bill might have suffered the lumping together of everything, but it's a lesson. When we were when we had less education on the amendment in 2006, for example, everything was lumped together, everything, and at the end of the day, the entire exercise came to naught because of the third term thing, the tenure elongation. So we learned from our mistakes of the past. And that is why this Senate decided to break all this into into bills, individual bills. So probably whoever will bring a request for this kind of thing, and maybe not calling it devolution, maybe calling it something else, but taking out
simply a bill, bill to amend.
Yeah, I'm coming. Just taking out some of these functions under the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent, giving them their individual bills, and also taking a step, a determined step to ensure that the revenue allocation formula, which is, I think, too old, too unrealistic, because the last time this formula was approved was in 1992. And this is a long time now. We are talking about 12, 13 years.
And there's also the Constitution provides that it should be
You recall that during Obasanjo era, they brought it to the National Assembly, then all of a sudden, so many versions appeared. And therefore, it was withdrawn. Whether it was done by somebody to scuttle it so that they will do something else, or it was genuinely a problem that happened within the National Assembly, that we had 3 versions of the bill. But the president then, President Obasanjo, did a modification in 2002. The modification was to change the distribution. And later, the Minister of Finance, Ngozi, also did some modification. And we are using that modification. Now, federal government takes about 52.68%.
Because all of those special funds and all of that,
all is including the FCT, the ecological fund and so on, together in the federal government coffers. So the states go home with less than 27%, for example. What this means is, if you take some issues on the exclusive legislative list and push it to the states without commensurate funding given to the states, you will be overburdening the states. So I think
giving them responsibilities.
Yes, give them responsibility with what they should give those responsibilities. So I think that we have no way of getting this thing done properly, but to, at the same time, more or less, initiate the amendment that is required and have very close interaction with the executive for us to have the revenue allocation formula changed and passed by the National Assembly, giving the states more funds, so that whatever
responsibility
you are devolving to them would be able to, they will be able to
show that.
to implement. Otherwise, you take a lot of responsibility to the states, and when there is nothing coming in terms of increased funding, then you are giving them no work tool. You know, so I think there is an opportunity at a later time to do these things right. But I must advise that when members of the National Assembly vote against something, no matter how strongly someone feels about that thing, don't condemn them, those who voted against it, because you still need them. And you should court their friendship by trying to explain to them, trying to make them understand from your own side of the argument that this thing is not harmful, that these are the advantages. Please, can we dialogue? I know so many times we had issues, whether we were passing bills or whatever it is, senators among themselves would disagree. But what we normally do, we could delay. We say, okay, we step this thing down. Let's consult more. And then colleagues will go and sit, dialogue, okay, we're not allowing all of this to go like this. Reduce it, or okay, take this part to another side of the country, and so on and so forth. So if senators will do that, and members of the National Assembly, and in fact it's a parliamentary practice, and a very good practice at that, we expect that people who clamor for something, they should go beyond coming to the television and be just talking and castigating people and threatening.
The Senate itself didn't make that opportunity available for the first time. For the first time since 1999, this process went through without a public hearing. You didn't have a public hearing. We members of the public didn't have the opportunity of engaging the
you.
Yes.
Okay,
you only call yourself to a summit in Lagos to draft what you agree to.
Let me explain.
There was no public hearing.
Let me explain. I think we have to.
Don't tell us there was no fund to.
No, let me say this.
Because I know how much was budgeted for.
Okay, you tell me how much. Because no, I want the public to hear. No, I want the public to hear. And then I will hold you responsible, because I will ask you, the burden of proof will now be on you to come back to the public and say, this is the document. Okay. Tell me.
All right, the budget of the National Assembly is 120.
No, I'm not saying the budget of the National Assembly. You didn't say. You see, Ben, I'm a politician, even though I'm still learning.
Okay, the last National Assembly.
Let me leave
the last National Assembly budgeted 4 billion naira, when your budget was just 115 billion naira. This year, your budget is 125 billion. So I expected that you would have budgeted much more billions.
Do you have any document to support what you said about the last National Assembly that you budgeted?
You said so now. The seventh, not you. The seventh.
Who said?
The seventh National Assembly.
The person who told you that. But let's not waste too much time on this.
Yes, let's talk about why you did what you did. I said there was no public hearing. Because the public should
benefit from this discussion.
Yes, I said there was no public hearing.
Yes,
you said there
was. No, I didn't say that. But let me say this. You know, every time you talk about legislature, everywhere in the world, the legislature is the most unpopular arm of government. Everywhere in the world. Even the US. But unfortunately, the legislature is possibly the most essential arm of government. That's why it is number one in our constitution among the three arms of government. We have to learn to live with it, that this legislature, this institution of lawmaking, is indispensable in a democracy. If we had gone for the kind of zonal or state public hearings we held in the 7th Senate, Nigerians would have said, oh, this time there's no money, and look at this. After all, most of the issues are settled issues. You know what the people think about them. Why are you now wasting public funds? Okay. I'm sure, Benga, you would have taken us up on this. And Nigerians would have been right. And because we felt the pulse of Nigerians, we knew that people would talk along that line. We decided, one, most of the issues are settled issues. Very few of them. Most of the issues have been there since 2007, really. Yeah. So we held public hearings at the national level, at the zonal, geopolitical level, at the state level. We did in the Senate, the House of Representatives did, the State House of Assembly did when we transmitted the bills from the National Assembly. So since the issues were settled, why do we have to go on that again? Secondly, we are in a hurry to get this thing done, because the nearer and closer you get to 2019, when the elections,
the more touchy the issues will become.
the more difficult it will become to pass anything, because the moment you come up with a bill, some interest group will say, this bill is targeting at so and so, or is to support somebody. And we want to avoid a situation where legislations will be interpreted to mean trying to favor someone or disfavor someone. So we are really caught in between the deep sea and, is it the devil and the deep blue sea?
Yeah.
But we have chosen, we have taken a conscious decision that we should go this way so that we can do it in time and allow the State House of Assembly to also go ahead and do their consultations. And Nigerians have opportunity, except those issues that have failed. But those that have scaled through, if you don't like them, go to the State House of Assembly and say, we don't like this, we don't like this.
Okay. I'm still going to come to that. I need to ask you how the process will evolve from here, because there are issues, for instance, that there are some of the bills, for instance, that sailed through in the Senate and didn't sail through in the House. Is this one of such processes where there will still be harmonization and all of that? Because a bill to amend the Constitution is not just any other bill; it's an extraordinary bill. Is the process of harmonization still allowed?
Should I call you honorable or Senator Benga, because you appear to be so vast in the process? Okay, let me say that the constitutional amendment process is slightly different from the
process of
and
ordinary
procedure
bill
of passing ordinary bills, because passing ordinary bills, you require just simple majority. Excuse me. But when it comes to constitutional amendment, you need 2/3. In the Senate, for example, you need 73 senators to pass, for a bill to pass. In the House of Representatives, you need 240 for the bill to pass. And in fact, in amending, I think, Section 9 of the Constitution, you require 4/5. And what that translates into 88 senators in the Senate for that section to be amended. So and the requirement is the two chambers must pass by 2/3. So when a bill fails in one chamber and passes in another chamber in the National Assembly, that amendment has failed, because there is no provision for harmonization. You require the 2/3 in both chambers. So there is nothing like harmonization, and that is the difference, or one of the differences, between the process of passing an ordinary or normal bill from constitutional amendment, because in ordinary bills you constitute committees to come and harmonize, but this one there's no.
So all those bills, whatever we lost in the Senate and we gained in the House, is of no effect, and whatever we gained in the House and we lost in the Senate is also of no effect.
Yeah.
Okay, that's perhaps maybe that's why the leadership of the Senate particularly has been speaking of not foreclosing the matter, maybe opportunity of another round of amendment very soon to again restart and reboot the process on those issues on which Nigerians probably are saying, no, you didn't represent us well and all of that. But talking about
not all Nigerians are saying that. Some Nigerians.
Okay, some Nigerians.
Maybe I would advise that people should talk to their representatives rather than condemning everybody, because I might have voted for something and that thing failed. And if I go home and say, this is the way I voted, they will say, yeah, that's what we wanted, or that's our agreement with you. And yet someone else
voted against it. Made your vote not to be relevant.
No, someone else is castigating me for not voting yes, for example. Or if I vote yes, because that's what my people want, and someone else wanted a no, and simply because he has the opportunity and privileges to be around the media, he will just say Nigerians. But my Nigeria, for example, will start with my people, because I have to be from Gashua in Bade local government, in Yobe North, in Yobe, from Yobe, before I became a senator.
Is there a way to know how each senator voted on all of these issues? Because I wanted to do that. I ensured that I secured a copy of the votes and proceedings of that day. I have read that votes and proceedings. It's of no help. I cannot pinpoint how my senator, for instance, voted on all of those issues. So that if I need to kickstart a process of recall because, because she has not represented me well. I will be able to do that because she didn't vote.
Beggar, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Would you kickstart a process of recall because
Yes,
you are
if-
senator?
if-
Just hold on
Yes.
now. Allow me. Because you are senator voted.
No.
Those who haven't voted, no. For
Where
an
we
issue,
wanted him to say yes.
for an issue.
That's
for an
misrepresentation.
issue. So there is no allowance for any mistake.
No, that's
the margin of error is zero.
very, very
When
zero.
you make when
because
you
this is
present your program,
this is
there,
our life we are talking about.
just listen, Benga. When you present your program, focus on Nigeria and other things. You don't make mistakes, so you should be sacked from AIT once you make mistakes.
Leader, this is our life we are talking about. We have been clamoring for this thing all our lives.
What have you been clamoring for?
For devolution of power and all those stuff.
How much campaign
I
did
now have
you
my
do?
representative, and
How
he or
much-
she
how
dares
much
to go and
campaign
say
did you
no
do?
when majority of the people that voted for him or her to be there want yes. Is recall. Penalty for it is recall.
I think that is too harsh.
Let's talk on some other issues. You voted one of the bills that came through with so much wide margin are the ones that affect the interests of of those of you in the National Assembly. Let me start with
really?
the number one. Yes.
Okay.
Let me start with the number one.
Okay.
Bill number one, composition of membership of the Council of State. I've read the bill. I don't know whether you have also had criticisms of this bill, which is that it is self-seeking and self-serving. Why, for instance, do you want, okay, you are amending the composition of the Council of State to include former speakers of the House of Reps and former Senate presidents that were not impeached. Why do you want that to be so? The argument, the justification for it is also found in the bill, which is you are talking of fair representation. In a purely...
You have asked me a question.
I've not finished.
Okay.
In a purely...
I hope you will allow me enough time to respond to your questions.
Okay. In a purely advisory body to the president, what equal representation are you looking for? Again...
Did I say
sorry.
representation? You asked me, that's not my paper.
It's not your paper, it's the bill. This is the bill.
Just listen, but
this is
the bill is different
one.
from the explanation.
The explanation is there. You want me to read it?
It's not the bill.
It's there, it's there. This bill be cited as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, forthwith. Explanatory memorandum. This bill seeks to alter the third schedule to the Constitution to include former presidents of the Senate and former speakers of the House of Representatives as members of the Council of State. This is to ensure that the three arms of government are fairly represented in the Council. And I said, this is an advisory body to the president.
My explanation will be a little bit different.
Oh, from what you already have in the bill.
Let me explain now.
Okay.
Just allow me. Because
Please.
I want this program to be beneficial to everybody who is watching and listening. You said self-seeking.
Self-seeking, self-serving.
Self-serving.
Yes.
Okay. I want to contend that one, it is not self-serving for the two reasons I will give. We said those not impeached. Isn't it there? If we wanted it to be self-serving, we would have said all Senate presidents, former Senate presidents, and all former speakers. But we said those not impeached. In most cases, impeachments were carried out because maybe the members of the National Assembly, depending on which chamber, were not happy with the way the presiding officer or the Senate president or the speaker was conducting himself or herself. So to me, that is patriotic, that we didn't say everyone. Two, I'm not looking at it from that angle of representation, that because the executive arm and the judiciary are there, therefore we must have some. I'm not looking at it that way. Okay. My perspective, and of course I'm not denying that, but my perspective is largely that if you are advising a president who presides on the entire country, to me, something will be missing if you don't have a legislative perspective given to the president.
It's already there.
No, it's not there.
It's already there because the sitting Senate president is a member of the Council of State. The sitting Speaker of House of Reps is a member. You are only trying to include past members.
Just listen. You see, the essence of advice
Yes.
is to bring to bear your experience.
Yes.
You know, the sitting Senate president or the sitting speaker was not the speaker before or the Senate president before. The experiences were different. So it's like having a cocktail of advice from both those who serve as presidents
And those who are still there now.
and those who are still there. Because if I talk with a senator who was senator in 1999, I will gain a lot from what he will tell me because of his experience. If I talk with a member of the House of Representatives of today, because I was in the House in 1999, 2003 to 2007, he will learn a lot from me too. Because what I went through or my experience in the House was something he never lived. So to me, it's not issue of because they are there, we must be there. No, it's for the president or the Council of State to have a better and more comprehensive advice from all the angles, all the sections or parts of government. So I think that that is not self-serving. Tell me, David Mark was Senate President, Senator David Mark was Senate President from 2007 to 2015.
8 years.
8 years.
And
Benga,
during
just
these years,
Benga.
he was a member of the Council of State.
Benga, don't you think that if David Mark sits on the council tomorrow, that will add value to the advice to be given? The fact that the Senate President, Senator Bukora Saraki, who is the president today, is sitting there, doesn't mean that the kind of contribution Senator David Mark would give as former Senate President does not matter.
Or Ken Namani.
Or Kenny Namani. To me, I think it's fair.
Okay.
I'm sure you're convinced.
No,
You are feeling inside you.
I'm not.
That what
let me,
Okay.
I've not come out with my joker, so you are just preempting me. Let me come out the most valid argument against it, which is that in all, if you look at the membership as presently composed, all the members have tenure. The only ones that don't have tenure, that can be there forever, are those in the National Assembly. If you therefore want those people to also be in Council of State, why don't you also put tenure limit in the National Assembly? If you are against that, then why don't you leave the situation as it is? In other words, you just mentioned the case of Senator David Mark.
Okay, what do you mean tenure?
If the PDP had won the 2015 election, chances were that he would still have been re-elected Senate President for another 4 years.
So what's wrong with that?
Nothing. But
is it not even good for the system?
After that 16 years, after that 12 years or so, you then now put him in another Council of State meeting.
Yes.
Where he's...
Where is what?
I don't know.
Where is what?
That's the argument against
you
it.
See, you Benga, you are just arguing because you want to argue on this. But you are joker, I think, has not fetched you anything. It hasn't given you any advantage. Let me say this. In the legislature, the longer you stay,
the more experience.
The more experienced and better legislator or parliamentarian you become. All things being equal.
I like that. Because the people, people of some senators
I admitted.
The constituents of some senators that have been there since 1999, we ask you, what have we benefited from him being in the Senate? He was Senate President for this number of years. How has that changed the price of fish at Otukpo market?
No, don't personalize it. Don't go there.
I'm not personalizing.
No.
Oh, okay, because I said Otukpo. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, because you say Senate President, you say Otukpo, so you don't have to call David Mark's name. I know.
You are the one who mentioned name. I didn't mention name.
Oh, okay, but whoever is listening knows that you intended to say. But let me say this. You see, to me, the fact that the legislature does not have tenure limit, does not have a term, a terminal term until you are voted out, I think is a global best practice and is good. And how I wish that we could do that in our democracy. Because the heavy and massive turnover we have of the legislators undermines and jeopardizes our ability and capacity to have a legislature that will be passing good laws and oversight and whatever. I think we need that to stabilize our system. Secondly, if we have a Senate President or an Honorable Speaker of the House of Reps who would be there for as Speaker or Senate President for 20 years, for 30 years. I think that's the kind of person you need on that advisory body, because he might have lived so much experience. And when he talks, it's with finality about the legislature. To me, it's not equal representation that because legislature, I mean,
Okay,
the
so those who prepared the bill actually didn't do the right thing.
No, I didn't say that.
Because merely
That's-
looking at
that's
that
my-
argument,
I-
that the reason for this is for fair and equal representation.
No, I'm not
that
looking at
defeats
it. I'm not looking at it through that.
But
prism.
this,
I am looking at it through what I explained.
okay.
That the advisory body will be more complete and comprehensive when advice
Okay.
is given.
Two quick
Then-
ones.
Okay,
First,
no
I
joker,
didn't-
no joker, no joker.
No joker.
Okay.
I have used my joker.
Okay, I have mine.
Two quick ones. I didn't get your response on if I want to know how every senator voted on each of these issues.
Yeah.
Is there a way of knowing? Because all we saw was just the board showing yes, 91, no, this, abstain, this. How do I know how each senator voted? If I'm writing a book, for instance, on you, if I want to document
Definitely, certainly, you not write a book on me.
why not?
Because why should you write a book on me? Why?
Senate leader, somebody, one of
Senate
the most
leader, only
experienced,
six-
one of the most experienced lawmakers. You've been in the National Assembly since 1999.
By the grace of
you are
God.
not an institution.
And the approval of my people.
Exactly. So you are an institution. You are a repository of
So
legislative
you are now
ideas.
buying into this argument that the experience matters.
Leader, don't confuse the issue. If I want to know
Okay.
how you voted on all these issues, is there a way of knowing?
Yeah, there is a way. I think the National Assembly would print the voting
It's not
printout. No,
it's
no.
not in the
You know,
votes and procedures.
we were rushing to no, definitely it will not be there.
Okay.
Because it's something that is going to be bulky when you voted on 33 bills,
Items.
and every time you voted, you had 95 senators present voting. So it's going to be a bulky document. So I believe that very soon, maybe after we return from our recess,
Okay.
you'll have recess.
Ajibola Ola say, what about people who use the National Assembly as a means of gathering funds to contest governorship election? I don't know about that. I'm not going to ask him. I have a standing mistrust of our dear senators. A limit on the tenure will ensure that their decisions are not self-serving. That's Tara Papa. Lawa Lukman says, what have the people of Benue gained from former Senate President? Lawa Lukman, you are the one asking. The former Senate President is not here to answer that. Please, Menga, what is wrong with former Senate President as member of council? You guys should talk where talk is needed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I like that.
Menga, your guess is not on it. Okay. He doesn't see anything wrong with what they did to Nigerians. That's Eyo Ubon that is saying that. Let's go. We have to call it quits. Your passing shots, distinguished senator and Senate leader. Your passing shots. We are out of time.
Let me take this opportunity to thank the Nigerian public for showing understanding and, of course, showing so much interest in what we do in the National Assembly. I will urge Nigerians that you continue to keep pace with us, continue to show interest, continue to engage us. We'll do our best all the time to also engage you. And if you didn't get what you hope to get from the constitutional amendment, all is not lost. Nothing is foreclosed. The constitutional amendment is a continuous process, like any lawmaking. We are coming back from our recess on the 19th of September this year by the grace of God. You could present a request through your member of the House of Reps or your senator, or indeed anybody who wants any amendment, including devolution. But what you need is also to campaign, to lobby, to dialogue, to interact, and maybe early fears of whoever thinks he has something against.
Thank you so much, distinguished. Adi Alabi says, kudos to NAS, but there are hidden agenda for their selfish interests. Some of them were bought over on some of the decisions taken. That's Adi Alabi saying that, not Benga. So I won't allow you to comment on that. Thank you so much, distinguished.
Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan is the Senate Majority Leader. He has joined us this morning, the very first chance we had to take him up on the constitutional amendment process that went down in the National Assembly last week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the holiday.
Well, I'm going to the office. I've not been on holiday. but I will soon be by the grace of God.
All right, that's Focus Nigeria for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We shall be able to see you then. Enjoy the rest of the day.